Let's talk about something you thought you would never enjoy again. Olive Garden breadsticks. In my opinion, the only thing worth eating at Olive Garden. You can make these again in a gluten-free version that are actually easier than the original version. I'm gonna show you how easy this is. So the batter is super easy to come together. It all comes together in a stand mixer, dump and mix, that's it. It's based off of my gluten-free bread recipe, which let me tell you, that is the bread that you're gonna wanna make. I will link to it below. It's so soft and good and doughy, so I thought, why not turn it into breadsticks? So 3 cups of gluten-free flour. For this recipe, I highly recommend using cup for cup gluten-free flour. It just has the softest texture and it makes gluten-free breads and baked goods taste like the identical version of the original. 1 package of instant dry yeast. I just buy my yeast in bulk, and then I just have this little handy measuring tool that's exactly 2 1/4 teaspoons. 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. All right, here's a little something we need to talk about. Psyllium husk powder. This helps gluten-free breads stay moist, and it also gives it the elasticity of it. Now, reading through my comments, some people leave this out, so if you don't have it or you don't feel like buying an extra ingredient, you can, but I use it on a lot of my gluten-free bread recipes. I recommend this brand in particular because it will not turn your breadsticks purple. If you use a darker psyllium, it has a tendency to turn your baked goods purple. Don't ask me why, it just does. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I like adding baking powder to gluten-free yeast recipes just because I don't feel like the yeast does enough to raise it. And especially with the breadsticks, they have such a short rise time that the baking powder helps make them nice and airy in the oven as they bake. And then the last dry ingredient is a teaspoon of salt. So we're just gonna mix that on low speed to combine. Now we just add the liquid ingredients. So you'll need a 1.5 cups of lukewarm water, and this is where I love using my instant thermometer just to check the temperature. I'm looking for it to be around 100 degrees. So it's reading 104, that's good. 1/4 cup of oil. I'm using olive oil because, you know, we're making breadsticks, but you could use any oil you prefer. And then just 2 room temp eggs. All right, so we're gonna mix this together for about 30 seconds for the dough to all come together, and then turn your mixer to medium speed and let it beat for 5 minutes, which I know this kind of mimics the kneading action in bread, even though there's no gluten in it, but it helps saturate the gluten-free flour so you don't get like a gritty texture to it. It helps give time for the flour to absorb all that moisture so you don't get a dense or gummy texture to it. So this is why I like to use a stand mixer for this recipe. Some people have made it with a hand mixer, but that's, you know, that's aggressive mixing. It can be done if that's all you have, but you're gonna have to commit. So when it's done mixing, the batter is going to be stiff-ish. It should be thick, but still a little bit malleable. So the reason I don't want the dough completely stiff, so you're not like going to roll these out, because to do that, we'd have to keep adding more gluten-free flour, which would make the dough workable, but then you would also have some crusty breadsticks. That's not what we're going for here. We're going for soft, doughy breadsticks. What I do is I put the batter in a bag and kind of pipe them onto the sheet. So you'll need a gallon freezer Ziploc bag. The freezer bags are just a little bit more heavy duty. Fold the edges over so you don't get batter all over where you're gonna close it. And then I just set it in a bowl just so you have, you know, we only have 2 hands, so we can't hold it and put the batter in. And then just transfer this over. Once all your batter's in, then go ahead and kind of squeeze the air out of it and close it shut. And then we need to snip off the corner. So the key is to not snip it off too big, or your breadsticks, when they rise, they will get obscenely large. So I feel like a good size is about 1 inch. I would start smaller and then you can always open it up more if the dough isn't coming out. And then we have a grease baking sheet with parchment paper on it, and we're gonna pipe out about a 6-inch breadstick and place them about 2 inches apart from each other so they have room to rise. And then at the end here, you could use your finger to make it go off, or sometimes I just grab a little butter knife to make it go off. So this makes about 12 to 13 breadsticks. So what I would use 2 pans for this and just I have 8 on a pan, and then you can grab another one and pipe the rest on it. Once you have it all piped out, then you're just gonna let it rise for about 15 minutes while your oven preheats to 375, and that's it. You just mix the batter together, let it rise for 15 minutes, and then pop it in the oven. Once they've risen, they won't be like as big as they are after they bake because they have the baking powder in it that will make it rise more as it's baking, but you bake for about 15 to 17 minutes. So while those are baking, we're gonna make the garlic butter topping. Now, there's nothing in the breadsticks that had dairy in it, so if you need a gluten-free, dairy-free breadstick, you can make this topping as dairy-free as well. You need 2 tablespoons of butter, but swap that out for olive oil if you prefer. And then add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 of a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and then a 1/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. And then we're just gonna stir in about 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. If you're doing this as dairy-free, you could omit that, or you could do nutritional yeast as well too. So you want to put these on the breadsticks when they're warm, so that's why we're doing this now. If it starts to cool down as you're waiting for the breadsticks, just put it I would use the defrost function on your microwave because you don't want the Parmesan cheese to heat up, but just so it's nice and spreadable when they come out. Okay, once they come out of the oven, then we're just gonna spread this all over. Oh my gosh, this is heaven on earth. Who said you can't enjoy soft breadsticks when you're gluten-free? I would check out the comments on this recipe. So many people have commented that they make this for non-gluten-free people, like when company comes over or their non-gluten-free spouses or kids often request this recipe. That's how good they are. They are like legit breadsticks. This recipe was such a hit on my blog that I also made a garlic knots, like pizzeria style garlic knots recipe based off it too. You can check out the recipe link below where you can find the full printable recipe for this and that and many other life-changing gluten-free bread recipes on my website. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.